Hello again, crew, and welcome to your JA program called JA Career Success. This is session 5. My name is Megan Jaspersen, and I'm with Purdue Extension in Perry and Spencer counties, and I serve as the Health and Human Sciences educator, and we'll be taking this journey with you today. So in JA Career Success, we've been talking about how to get a job and keep a job. Last session, we focused on those soft skills in the workplace and tips for having a good interview. This session, we're going to examine another side of the journey to career success, and that is knowing what your personal priorities are so you can find a job that you can commit to and be successful in, which is really important for both you and the employer, which we'll talk about. So let's look at work priorities. A couple stats. Your generation is predicted to work for a greater number of companies and a higher number of different jobs than the generations before you. So people think you guys are going to hop around a lot more. With that kind of turnover, it is essential for you to evaluate what's most important to you in your work environment. When I say work environment, this means the surroundings in a place of work. So that includes your physical and your social conditions and other factors that affect the quality of the job experience. For example, one of the reasons I really love my job is because I get to do something different all the time. One day I'm working in an office recording a webinar, another day I'm teaching a community class, and then another day I might be digging in the garden and getting my hands dirty teaching folks about nutrition. And I work with a lot of teams, like I've mentioned before, so I'm always mixing up who I'm interacting with. And I love that about my job. So those are some good fits for me as far as my priorities go. So why is it important to do this prioritizing? For you, once you have established your work priorities, this is what you're going to use as an anchor for planning what kind of job you really want to land and what education and training are needed. Maybe the job that you seek just requires a high school education and you'll be done at the end of your high school career. Perhaps it requires you to go off to trade school and learn a specific skill. Maybe it requires a 2-year, 4-year, or even a more advanced degree through higher education. So it's important to think about now what you want to do so you can kind of pave the way for the path that you know that you need to take to land that job that you're hoping to get. So it's not only important for you because it helps you build that roadmap, but employers also really want you to take the time to establish your priorities and be in a job that you will enjoy. Why is this important to them? Well, businesses actually spend a lot of time and money investing in employers and recruiting and training employees, okay? That investment is lost if an employee ends up not liking some aspect of the job and quits. So if you take a job and you decide after a few months that it's not for you, your priorities have changed, or it's different than what you thought it might be, that company is likely actually going to lose some money because they've invested time and money in you, and then you are moving on to something very shortly after that. So it's important for you to know, but employers also really want you to be sure that that's a job that you're going to enjoy so their investment is not lost. Okay, let's look at some scenarios. Student A wants to work in the film industry. Should their priority to be to work in a small town or a big city, and why? One of the first decisions about a career should be where you want to live. If you want to stay in the city or community that you're in currently, examine what careers will be available here. And there's a lot of awesome opportunities right here. But when we look at student A, this person should plan to work in a big city probably, as there will be a lot more opportunities there for their interests. Another big priority to think about would be whether or not you want to work inside, such as in a business or an office, or outside, maybe in some type of construction or electrical lineman job, or some combination of the two. So let's take a look at student B. If this person hates being outside when it's hot, should they plan for a career in the construction industry? Why or why not? Probably not, because if they're miserable when it's hot outside, and they're stuck in construction gear when it's 90 degrees in the middle of the summer, they're not going to be enjoying their job, right? Okay, a couple more scenarios to consider. Student C's worst subject is math. Should this student become an accountant? Why or why not? One thing that's really important to examine when you're thinking about your job is your skills. What are you good at? Use that to help guide your work priorities. If student C is not good at math, they are not going to want to be in a financial services career or any other career for that matter that's really heavy in math skills. And then let's take a look at student D. Student D does not like to fly. Should this student plan for a career that requires a lot of travel? Why or why not? When we're thinking about our priorities, it's important to examine your preferences. If student D doesn't want to fly, then they will not want a career that requires travel, especially if that student values spending a lot of time at home with their family. They're not going to want a job that's going to cause them to be on the road all of the time. For me in my job, some of my priorities are that I like mixing it up. I like doing different things. So this job is really a good fit for me. I also really like encouraging folks on their health journey, and that's a huge piece of what I get to do in my position at Purdue Extension. And so my priorities are lined up very well with my actual job currently. So let's take a moment to review what we covered in this session. Knowing your work priorities is really important as you make choices that will affect your future. It's really going to help you map out where you want to be and how you're going to get there. In our next session, we're going to be exploring some factors to consider when researching careers. So we're going to look at skills, interests, and the job outlook in high growth industries and provide some additional information around some of these other factors to consider when you're thinking about looking into different careers. And that wraps up our session 5 video. And now you're going to transition to completing an activity to help you understand your work priorities. And I would encourage you all to take this one pretty seriously because it might help give you some direction in knowing where you want to go. I know at this stage in your life, it can be difficult to be able to pin down what you want to do for the rest of your life, but it's important to start thinking about because, as we said, it does lay that roadmap for the route that you're going to take next. So until next time, thank you guys for your attention, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.